6:33. Was it January 3rd today? No, April 3rd. Meeting to call the order here.
Stay around till April 14th.
All right, so public comment. Don, if you want to hold off, this is an agenda item, the Horse Hill.
I don't know if you want it now or at the agenda item.
Well, seeing that there's no other public comment here, we don't have any appointments, we don't have any statutory business. Old business, I've got one item under old business to discuss. It's going to be very quick, and then we can go right to new business. So, old business, because I thought it was something we'd already taken care of, and I can't seem to find it in the minutes, but, so I guess maybe it should be new business, but we are due to pay our, the Beaver Solutions for the maintenance plan for 2017.
Yeah,
I thought we did, and discussed it and voted on it too, but
we did.
is it 2 meetings ago? I could have sworn we did it, but they're saying that it's not signed and they don't have a copy of it, so I do have before me.
For sure I made that motion.
Ain't no sense in doing it again if we've done it.
Yeah.
No, well, that's the thing. I believe we have done it already. I don't have, it's not signed, it's not downstairs, so I was going to bring it up again, because I don't think we're going to have any issue with saying yes. It's $930 for the year, and it covers all 4 devices. So
You want us to vote again?
I don't,
So I move that we spend not to exceed $1,000 on maintaining our 4 Beaver Solutions devices from Fund 53.
Second.
okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so it passes 600 from Fund 53, and I'm going to obviously go down and check and make sure that this is, if we have it already passed, then we'll use the first motor. I guess we can cancel this one in the next meeting. So, but in the interim, we can get this moving forward. So that's my only old business. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss? No? Okay. So new business. We had a report. Tom, why don't you come on up? You can talk about this more so than anyone else. We had a report from members of the Horse Hill Subcommittee, some damage in Horse Hill. And Dawn, I think you were the one that reported it, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, Tim Adams.
If you could sign in.
Oh, yeah, just let me get a chance.
Tim Adams, who's on the Horse Hill Committee as well, is the one that originated the email that indicated that he found damage while doing a walk on that Saturday, the 25th of March. I'm going to pass this on so people can take a look and see what we're talking about. But again, my name is Don LaLiberty with the Horse Hill Subcommittee, and what I'd like to do is read the statement that I did up for the police department.
Okay.
This was done on Sunday, the 26th at 3:30 p.m. And the case number is 567124. I stated on March 26, 2017, I was investigating a report of environmental damage done to some of the trails at the Horse Hill Nature Preserve. Most of the damage was in the vicinity of Rocky Trail, and vehicle tracks led to the power lines and continued to cross Natticook Road and back under the power lines all the way to the Horseshoe Fish and Game Club parking lot. After doing a little investigating and tracking, I found that the rig skidder that did all the damage on the trails came from the Horseshoe Fish and Game Club parking lot and belongs to Alex Jordan Logging. They were doing logging for the club. It appears that the skidder was driven by Alex Jordan sometime Friday late afternoon or early evening under the power lines and on Rocky Trail, and somehow back under the power lines to its final destination that happens to be behind the barn at 89 Peasley. I met with Detective McGuire, and he spoke with the owner of the property at 89 Peasley and got the phone number for Alex Jordan and ended up leaving a voicemail to return the call. For some reason, the property owner would not give Detective McGuire permission to take a photo of the skidder and tire tracks. The detective did take a photo with a zoom lens from the road. The detective also asked me to come up with an estimate for the environmental damage, which I am not sure how to do. When looking at the map that is used for Horse Hill, I've got a paragraph here that states the path that the skidder took. As I was mentioning to Cindy earlier, when I first saw the damage, I didn't know what we were dealing with when I saw the wheel tracks and the width of the tracks. At first I thought it was a monster truck with big tires. I didn't realize that it could have been the skidder. The Alex Jordan logging skidder started from the Horseshoe Fish and Game Club parking lot on Greens Pond Road and traveled north behind the shooting range and onto the power line right away heading west, crossed Natticook Road, and continued on the power line right away, and then turned right, headed north on Rocky Trail past post 13, 14, 9, which happens to be the kiosk area, 17, 10, and then went through the closed off area, and I indicated here, please refer to mud photo, and then headed south on Loop Road past post 11 and 4 on the way towards the power line once again. Once back to the power line, right away, the skidder continued on in a westerly direction and ended up behind the barn at 89 Peasley. What I also wanted to indicate, I already mentioned that everything originated with an email from Tim Adams on his observation. The day after this was the day that I went to investigate the problem, because we had some real questionable weather on Saturday. It was rain and a mix of snow, rain. I figured I'll just do it on Sunday morning, and frankly, I wish I had even done it sooner. I also consulted during that Sunday, as I was walking around inspecting what had happened, Deb Huffman, Roland Roberge, New Coriel, and obviously Cindy and Gage here on the board. The thing that's disturbing to me is the amount of damage that was done with total disregard to what was happening. In some cases, the skidder just drove right over trees, and you can see where the belly of the skidder is just scraped the trees. The trees might be at an angle, and you can see the scraping of the trees, the whole length of the tree. There are places where some trees are scraped that are still standing, but will probably die. And the other thing that was really odd was at the bottom of the Plumber's Trail, and you probably have noticed this, Matt, the skidder drove in such a way, and it was so wide, that the growth that was on the side of the trail, if you're getting into Rocky Trail, it just folded a lot of the growth over. So at least up till recently, I don't know how it is today, it would be difficult to even ride a mountain bike without having all these limbs sticking through your spokes. And
It's collapsed into the trail.
right,
Yeah.
right, because of
There's almost no
the
track.
tracks were so wide
Yeah.
that some of it was forced down into the trail. I happened to notice also what was shocking on that day, we still had ice on that wetland area just past that, heading north, and the skidder just blew through that section of ice, and there were just big chunks of ice that were broken up in that particular area. And as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't sure what we were dealing with here, because initially the first email I got, I thought I was looking for some sort of evidence that an ATV might have been in the area and caused some damage. But when I saw this,
It's an ATV.
it really wasn't until I made my way all the way to the Fish and Game Club. I happened to be a member of Horseshoe Fish and Game as well, spoke to some of the members, and they knew where the tracks led to, and they said, no, that was not a monster truck. That was a logging skidder that's been parked there for some time while it's been in use, and that it was removed on Friday. That would have been Friday, March 24th.
Okay.
So did it take this path as a shortcut, or to get to?
In order to get around Long Pond, see, it couldn't stay on the power line right away. Tom, if you could pass this back.
Not that it's allowed to anyways.
It had to go around Long Pond. There's no way it could have made it through there, or else it would have really been bogged down. So the individual took it upon himself, but might have received some direction. And I hate using any names, so I'm not going to mention any names right now, but there might have been assistance from the property owner that the skidder ended up at.
This obviously has become a little bit of more of a legal matter, so we do have community development involved. And for the photos you took, they are in possession of all those photos, so they're dealing with the police now, trying to figure out enforcement. So
The one thing that I do have to mention is that within a couple weeks, depending on how long mud season is,
right.
bikers, hikers, there's going to be a desire to use those trails again.
Right.
And there either has to be a work party, or there has to be something looked at that will help remedy what has happened. And then there's also the visual effect of trees that are in a serious state. They're going to die after what's happened to them, and it's a matter of what to do.
Right. Well,
Well, if you cut illegally, you can get charged 3 times the value of the timber. I think, something like that. There's a
yes.
formula that they use. Been a long time since I've had to deal with it, but, so in this case, there might be something else involved as far as the cost of damages.
Yeah, so for your information, Tom, because I think at the time there was a different counselor who was our representative, but last time we encountered damage that was within an easement area related to Horse Hill, trying to put a monetary value on things and the go-around and the time invested by myself and a bunch of others was tremendous. And the value and whatever when all was said and done, not a whole lot happened from our perspective, looking at what the town did to remedy the situation. So in this case, it's even more blatant. And we would like to see the town, I believe, when I say we, you can feel free to chime in and say I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. We would like to see the town take a far more proactive role to get out and document and assess damage and chase both legal, all legal avenues to address this, because this is, if people get the idea that they're allowed to do this kind of behavior, this could be catastrophic to other properties we have. So,
Well, there's a potential trespass issue here.
yeah,
There's certainly malicious mischief,
yes.
okay? And they can move on those.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just, it'd be nice to see them follow through. I mean, and maybe the police and all are doing that. I don't want to, second guess that it's not happening, but I think this needs to be given some priority before nature takes over and tries to fix the wound that's been dealt her. So, especially now that we're getting into the growing season, you'll see a lot of stuff get covered up, as well as the fact that we now as volunteers have to go out and remedy what needs to be done in order to make it passable and usable by the regular approved users. So
We have potential just to some DES violations too.
Yeah.
And the wetlands, I mean, we'd have to go and get the wetlands map and, actually look and see where it can go, because there's this difference between driving through something that's wet and driving through a wetlands. So
That's right.
we just need to make sure it's truly something that's actionable.
And then again, that's where I believe the town can help. The town owns this property. It's not conservation owned. It's only conservation managed. And we're hoping that the owners will step up and do that. Again, I'm not saying that they're not, okay? Because I know Tim understands the gravity of this. I saw him last week, and he gets it. He was short-staffed last week. Tim Thompson. Yep. So, and the fact that the police came out and spent time with you shows that. So that shows good faith and everything. I'm just hoping it doesn't get left because of other priorities. This needs to be treated like any other crime.
Are those 20 pictures that I got sent,
23.
whatever it is? I think maybe I didn't get down to the end of the page, but anyway, there was a whole bunch of them in there.
Yeah.
Does that accurately represent what happened?
What my intent was to walk the trail and take a photo wherever I saw damage done, even in some cases where it might have been minor, but it was still obvious that the damage was done by the fact that the wide tracks of this skidder
Right.
had gone in areas where we wouldn't expect, even in some cases, foot traffic. And because of that, I wish I had taken better photos, but by that point on Sunday, it was late afternoon and it was starting to mist up again. And I felt like I had spent, I think, 5 hours that Sunday on this situation, and I was running out of time. But
Not to
I
mention
figured
energy.
I needed to document it with some photos that were as soon as
And we do
possible.
very much appreciate that's on your own personal time and taking that initiative. So thank you.
Sure.
Because what I was going to suggest is that if you are so inclined, you could also go out there and document what's out there, because a lot of if the police department pursues it any further, they may not be as cognizant of some of the things that they should observe and take pictures of.
Mm-hmm.
So dates and times and locations and, you know, those sorts of things are, because you go in the court, the judge is just gonna sit there, you know what the guy's gonna say. You know, wasn't me,
Yeah, I didn't know.
well, baloney.
Yeah, right.
He's already admitted to it, to the detective. So he's admitted that he drove it. At one point, at the very beginning, we didn't know whether it was an Alex Jordan logging skidder driven by
Whoever.
somebody that found keys or whether it was an employee, but it was Alex Jordan himself.
Yeah.
I'd
Did
be
he ask
glad.
a follow-up question about how much beer he might have had before he did that? Friday afternoon,
The time period, I don't have an exact time period where it occurred, but it was sometime between late afternoon and early evening that it occurred.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, one of the things Deborah Huffman indicated to me is she said her husband indicated to her that he noticed there were some big tracks, muddy tracks that were crossing the road on Natticook Road under the power lines. So
yeah, I saw those.
you noticed them as well?
Yeah, yeah, and I looked, and I thought, because of all the activity out there, power company's out here again. But yeah, I remember seeing those.
Yep.
Yeah, so so that vehicle also trespassed or crossed
Right.
PPS Eversource property as well, because that chunk of land at the power lines heading west, up until you get to Old Kings Highway, is all owned by Eversource. There's a sliver that they own. It's not a right of way. That piece to Old Kings Highway is their property. So we own east side of it. So
Well, I think we're gonna be better off pursuing this as the town rather than,
yeah,
I don't know that Eversource is gonna,
right.
unless there was any blatant damage to their equipment or their
Right.
activities on there. You know, they're going, yeah, okay, fine. We do this, this happens all, especially up north.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If there's a desire or a need to meet with an arborist or anybody that needs to see all these specific areas that I've documented with the photos, I'd be glad to meet with anybody. I live nearby and I'm retired, so it should be fairly easy to schedule something if necessary.
Well, do we want to move forward with that too, is we can get we've got a town forester.
Well, so we should see what the town is going to do about this. I don't want, if we start taking a bunch of actions, we're gonna have that, well, who's doing what? Because that's what happened the last time. We started doing some things, they started doing some things, and there was confusion as to who was running the show.
I can tell you from the police standpoint, my last discussion, which was late last week with Detective McGuire, is that they need to know, they have to have some monetary or some value to apply to this damage to help determine how severe it would be. And again, I don't know how it would go, if it would be the difference between a misdemeanor or felony.
Felony,
If
right.
it got to that
Or a
point.
violation even.
Or violation. But as I indicated to him, I said that I would be reporting to you folks. And I said that would probably be something that we would discuss and that I would get back to him. But right now, his report is incomplete because it doesn't have that piece.
Yeah.
So that's why I was mentioning, if it means meeting with somebody to help determine what that piece is, then I can certainly follow up and give that info to Detective McGuire so he can finish his piece. And then if it goes further, at least he's got a complete report.
State agency that deals with timber cutting, regulation,
Not sure.
Either.
So, first part of your question again?
a state agency that deals with timber cutting, somebody,
There's a timber association.
no, not an association.
Well,
I'm talking about a state agency.
There's a licensing body for the timber association. There's a licensing timber harvest. You have a license for that to cut
Yeah,
and be a forester. And he's not listed as a forester. He does land clearing.
because I had situations where had people underreport what they cut,
Mm-hmm.
and had somebody from the state come down and go through the cut area and measure.
There's a division of forests and lands.
Yeah, that's probably it.
That's dread.
Yeah, but it,
There's a forest. You have to be a licensed forester to go in and cut commercially. He goes in and he does land clearing, so it's a little different.
Mhm.
He doesn't have a timber license. I don't believe.
If you've seen what they did behind the water tower, on the property,
The clear cut.
it's not what we're used to seeing in a timber operation.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in that area very soon, looking at our property,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're gonna see it firsthand.
what was
Yeah,
that, the
yeah.
cut at the fishing game?
Yes.
They took a lot of lumber out of there. A lot,
All.
yeah.
Yeah, this summer when you can start hearing the guns all the way in Reed's Ferry, people are gonna start saying things. Yeah,
Yeah.
The acoustics are going to be very different.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, very different. Your police department's gonna get a lot of calls to dispatch. Thinking they had.
Can't be any worse than the guy down the road from me. About 2 o'clock every afternoon, about 20-25 rounds.
Yeah,
This
so
is the
Division of
individual
Forests
on
and Lands
Amherst Road.
seems to handle that.
On Amherst
You
Road.
there's a complaint form you can fill out if you need a forest
Hmm.
ranger to do a law enforcement issue.
Okay,
So,
so the property owner would do that.
oh yeah, Yeah.
So that would be the town.
be the town.
Right.
That's why.
Send me the URL, will you, Tim?
Yeah, that's why I believe the town needs to own this. We're
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
to support in any way possible.
Understand. Just give me the URL so I can get them right to the statute. And
Yeah. Well. Yeah, actually, they're under dread.
Right.
Well, in the interim, do we
Do
want to get the forester in and just start assessing that, or do we just leave it be for now? I mean, I understand I understand your point, and I agree with it. That I don't want to start going on two different paths here, but I
Yeah,
also don't want that much time to elapse.
right.
If you start getting, if Forest and Lands comes down and takes a look at it, they may be able and willing to give you a value. But if you send somebody else in there and they start giving you a value, and there's a variance between the two
Yep.
values, then, you're gonna get into you're gonna have to make up your mind which way you're gonna go.
I guess I was politely asking, how fast do you think you can get the town rolling on
I
this?
have, I will be in front of the town manager tomorrow morning.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking for the URL,
A little,
because between her and Tim, they should be able to take care of this for us. Or at least get it rolling to where they can file the complaint.
Right.
So I've got the copies of the pictures, or you have the copies of the
Yep.
pictures. And,
So does Tim.
so does Tim, okay. So he can ask them to come in and assess the situation and let them know, understand that.
He also has Don's contact information.
Yeah, okay. Let me have your name again, Don.
Yeah, I live next street over from you, Don La Liberty, 5 Danforth. And the cell is 603.
You sure you
do
want to
that?
do that on,
No.
Yeah.
why don't you just wait?
You don't want to
Okay.
give the whole, everybody.
We'll track it, we'll track it. It'll
Okay.
be in the police report anyway,
Okay,
right?
it is.
Okay.
A little experience working with forest and lands. Don't hold your breath.
Oh, no, I know. That's
They're not coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I dealt with them between 77 and 82. So that gives you an idea that I know that what I'm seeing and when I'm gonna get some action is gonna be two different things, because down here, forest problems down here, you gotta be kidding me.
No such thing.
You
They're
know,
not.
that's the
They're not going
suburbs.
south of Concord.
That's the suburbs.
Oh.
I doubt that they're
happening.
going south of Laconia, but anyway.
The other thing to consider, if I can mention this, is looking at it from two different ways. One, with regard to value, the value isn't going to be that great because it's all young growth,
Right.
small trees. I mean, it's not large trees that have a value for their wood potential, but more so what it would cost to make it right, which would be probably having a competitor to this logging company doing some work in this area, as opposed to dependent on volunteer effort across the board, and it would take a number of hours, and that might have a monetary value that would be something that somebody could come up with.
Just in the neighborhood of posts 10 and 11, like at the bottom of ledges
Yep.
on Loop, it doesn't even look anything like it used to. So I think you're going to have people following the tracks instead of going on the trail, because he knocked down so much in that area that you can't even see where the existing trails, or what used to be the trails, we can't even see where they are anymore.
Crime scene tape. Could mark it up.
I got to tell you, the expression on my face must have been priceless, although there's nobody around, when I came up to the kiosk and then I spotted the track. At that point, I was only looking at one track, and I was trying to figure out what would make a track this wide
Yeah.
and go down. It wasn't until maybe 30 seconds that I realized,
There's another one.
looking another 8 or 10 feet over, there was another track. So then I wasn't convinced. I thought maybe the person went up and maybe back with some one-wheel monster. But then I realized as I was looking,
Yeah.
it was doing this. So obviously it was one vehicle. And then it took me a while to figure out that there was only one direction. It was the direction heading westerly towards Peasley.
Okay.
So whatever else I can do, I'd be glad to help. I just hope that it isn't just pushed aside and that this person ends up not being responsible for what he did. I'd hate to see that.
Again, thank you again, Don, for your help and your work on this.
You bet.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for everything going out there.
Sure thing.
And so, I mean, at this point, as far as the subcommittee goes, we meet a week from tonight, but we'll make sure nobody goes out and does any cleanup, until we hear from someone.
Shouldn't do any cleanup until
Yeah.
there's, to see if there's any further
They can look and everything.
action on the whole
Even as much
thing.
as just trying to stay away from the area at all. Just
Right, yeah.
could leave it be. There's a few footprints and
Either
tracks
that or-
and stuff that we add
You
to
might
it, the
want to
better.
think about closing the area, but I don't know that you want to do that.
It's mud season. I mean, we do close.
The mud season signs are up.
Yeah.
They're a toned down version of what we've used historically, that the subcommittee came up with, but they're up already.
Would some of the number people take it upon themselves to go ahead and start clearing, like that area by the bottom of Plummer's Trail?
And you're not going to see a bike in there for a long time, till
Okay.
after mud season anyway.
Unless they're independent, right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going in there riding, and unless we call something, no.
So
work
it would
parties.
have to be like an official shout out for a work party that there would be a greater effort as opposed to an individual effort.
Yeah, and I don't think any individual is going to try to tackle what's going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
I went out there and looked and went, not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, the countless hours blocking that area, and it's just blown wide open.
Yep.
So,
All right.
Okay, folks, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
John?
thank you.
I'm going to stay on to the session where the agenda item on reporting. I just want to know if I did anything wrong.
That is nothing more than a conversation of like, what are we supposed to, how are we supposed to handle this? So,
Yeah.
you're our only example really right now, so this is not a how do you do it, this is how should we do it in the future.
This was kind of rolling with the punches, and I would have called Matt, but I don't have you in my address book. I think I had at one time, but I switched phones. So you would have gotten a call as well. So I apologize for that. I did run into some.
Yeah, they told me.
They did. Okay. But I want to be in on that conversation if there is.
Have a seat.
Okay.
It's next, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was, the only reason that's on there is because of the situation. I was like, well, we obviously need to have some, I mean, I forget who I heard from first. I guess Newt called me Sunday night and told me what was going on. And so, I mean, that's only because, like you said, he just happened to have my number or from days past, whatever. So there's not really any official escalation. How do we find something like this and move it forward so we get it to you? I mean, here we are a week plus later, and we're now just notifying the town. Tomorrow morning is going to be our first notification to the town. Well, I shouldn't say that first. I mean,
No.
Tim's aware of it, but just how do we move this forward? I mean, in the future, this happens again. This happens next week. This happens next year. Who knows? But how does it move forward correctly and expediently?
Would there be a liaison with the town that, could call, that a person that would take that, work with us?
Well, we've got a couple items I think that need, obviously, this property combines both. I mean, it's managed by MCC, but it's owned by the town. We have properties that are owned and managed by MCC. We have properties that are, we have this mix of ownership and management, so it's going to be a little, flexible as to how this has to happen. So, obviously, just want to look at it from that point of view. So, there's a lot. There's potentially to be a lot. So,
kind of just talking off the,
yeah,
I think what should happen is if anyone notices damage, whether that be someone from the public or a member of a subcommittee or a member of the commission, I think there should be a commission-wide email or something along that line as soon as possible, okay? Because that could put a lot of eyes on things. I do believe that we do have to have some separation for legal reasons between properties that we own and properties we manage and we don't own directly. Because often it's the owner that has to initiate legal action and legal activities. It's so So therefore, the owner needs to find out right away. So our obligation as a commission, I believe, is to inform the owner of the town as soon as we can. Certainly things that are criminal or believed to be criminal should be reported to the police, no matter what. Property, so they can get involved. But it would be, I think right now we've used community development as our avenue to the town. But what we learned in this case is, they were short-staffed this past week. Did the best they could. Illnesses and other things kind of happen. So, but this, it's kind of hard to say, was this a major event or a minor event? I think we all agree this is a major event from our perspective. But I would like to see maybe the town tell us what is the protocol we should follow.
Don, did you contact the police? Was it
Once,
you or is that?
once I had things pretty well sorted out, I had a name. I clarified what kind of vehicle, if
Right.
that is what we're going to call it. I had my information that I felt that I could speak to a police officer and file a complaint.
Because even then, I appreciate what you did, but even then, I'm like, boy, I'm not sure I want people doing all the extra that you did. I don't want them tracing down, luck have it that this turned out well, but I mean, what if you showed up in that guy's backyard and he was mad at you for that? I mean, I don't want anyone to be put in that situation.
Yeah, at this point, I was with the police officer. We drove after we met, and one of the things I was glad of, he was giving me a ride to my home as well. I was sick of hiking.
Done walking.
But we did look at where it crossed the Natticook Road, and then we went to the Amherst Road lot to see if there was any tracks, whether it might have ended up there and might have been picked up there. And then we went to Peasley, and the police officer asked me, did you get a color on that skidder? And I said, one of the members of the Fish and Game mentioned that it was green. And the police officer said, there it is. It's about 150 yards behind the barn here. And that's when he did a U-turn, and the owner of the property was in the barn, and I stayed in the police car, and he and the owner had that discussion. So at that point, I mean, my involvement was strictly
Right.
reporting it and helping the police officer with some of the basic details, and I told them that I would have the incident report on my part back at the police department before his shift ended. So after I took the pictures and then starting to send some of them out, I felt that I had done as much as I could, but the most important part with the reporting and getting started in that regard, I thought was taken care of. As we're talking here, I'm wondering.
You were the one that contacted the police, though.
Yes.
You did that yourself. Okay.
I felt it was warranted at that
Yep,
point.
absolutely, I'm not-
I know Matt had a contact at the police department for these type of things. At least you used to have one. I don't know if he's still on the force. But I didn't have your name in my directory at that point, so I superseded that individual and just contacted the police
Probably better
department.
that way. Yep.
The one thing I was corrected on by the dispatcher also, he asked me when I reported that I wanted to meet with a police officer to talk about property damage. He corrected me after we talked about what it was. He said, you should be using the term environmental damage, not property damage, because there was no shed, there was no actual property that was destroyed
Yeah.
by this skidder.
No real property.
So in the reports that I've used, I use that term environmental damage to be clear on that.
Okay.
But that being said, should we be talking to PSNH to let them know, or at least if there's a contact person, to let them know there was an incident, and if they want to follow up, they can get the police report with the police number?
Good question for the town to answer.
Okay.
Run that by me again.
Excuse me, Tom?
Run that question by me again.
Since the skidder was on private property, which happened to be PSNH property, and since we're talking about what happened when the skidder veered off PSNH property and did damage to Horse Hill property, I'm not sure whether PSNH would find out about this unless we let them know.
Like I said, unless one of their towers went down, or there was a break in the line, or somebody got stuck back there, it's highly unlikely that they would have any knowledge of it at all.
Right. So should we let them know? Should we report it to them?
Yeah.
I would think so. Why wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah.
we're filing a police
So
report.
the thing that they've been doing the last couple of weeks is they've been, last week and again this week, they've been flying low-level helicopter patrols or inspections. Is probably a better word for it, where they're assessing the condition of the line and those sorts of things. And that's why I thought when I saw all that crap on the road, I looked at it, what the heck? And then, because they'd been in that area, I don't know if you remember seeing them back
Yeah,
there.
that
In
they
the
had,
fall, they had
remember
several large vehicles back there, and they were doing they were doing their own cutting in there,
right.
in terms of clearing out brush and stuff out of the way.
Yeah, they warned us. They let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I just thought it was those guys. I just thought it was them. That they had come back, and because the weather was so fluky, that, they figured, hey, look, we got time. Let's go do something.
Right, and I think if any of us would have seen that skid across, might have thought that initially as well, as opposed to if
Oh, no.
there were.
Well, if I had seen it, I would have smelled a rat. Because there were no skidders involved at all in anything they were doing.
Yeah, they use very different equipment when
Yeah.
they do their
Yeah.
brush clearing. Yeah.
And they create crossings to go through a wetland.
Right.
Or they back it out and come around.
From the other direction. Right.
This one went through, from what I can count, 6 wetlands.
It did go through an area that was taped off as a wetland that is under the power line.
Yeah, the overflow from where the beaver device is.
Correct.
Oh, brother, another state agency.
Yep.
That's a definite wetland.
Yeah.
But so is under the power lines.
Yeah.
Directly.
There's
below that.
There's we have a couple pictures of it, right into the water. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a DES.
Right
Yes,
outside the
go.
sand pit, that's a wetland. That was all marked as a wetland at one point in time. It was done by a wetland scientist. Maybe we even have those on our plans somewhere.
I didn't
That's
see
the turtle
sign.
nesting area too.
Yeah.
That's the turtle nest. That's
Right.
Well, you think of going down Rocky Trail. That's an area right there that we're thinking of moving so we have foot traffic and bicycle traffic away from that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's certainly
This is slightly
Slightly larger.
more impactful, let's say.
So,
Right.
all right, well, I guess you want to go, I think we go back to town and try to get some official,
Well, it'd be nice to have them
Escalation.
weigh in on what they think the process should be, so that way we follow the process the
Yeah.
right way. And if we have an incident, let's follow a process and learn from it. You know, do a lessons learned when it's over. Say what worked, what didn't work, and that way we'll
See,
even
if
know
we lived
better.
in Albany, this would be routine. But we live down here.
Yeah.
And so this is not something that happens
Right.
all that often.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, there's, one of my notes here is to get some determination of what the legal issues might be. Okay, and then just have them provide us some guidance in terms of how do we, as the property owner, how do we deal with this? Because they have somebody on their staff that probably has dealt with this a number of times, and we don't.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have the conversation about the two different property owners that are involved here. But given that we're an all-volunteer board of the town, essentially it's all town property at some level, however you look at it. So we should see if there's a nuance between the two, but there might be the exact same process. Just who signs the paper at the complaint at the end.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think it's just that who's the property owner?
Right.
Who has legal standing?
Right, right. And that may all fall back to the town at the end.
Right,
Correct, yeah.
yeah.
Because all
Okay.
our deeds pretty much say owned by the town of Merrimack by and through its conservation commission.
Yeah, and then, because I know, having dealt with this stuff
Mhm.
now 40 years ago, wading through the statutes to see where our responsibility was and where the state's responsibility was and what the violations were. It's you're going back to the early 1800s for some of this stuff because of this is how that's how the state lived, back at the turn between 19th and 20th century. New Hampshire was 80% open land, 89% open land, and the rest of it was all forested because they had all those farms going on, and and up north they cleared everything. I mean, you should see how many railroads they ran up there to do the timber clearing in some of those areas, up in the White Mountain Forest and those places up there. The amount of time and everything. Well, America was growing. They were building things, and they were exporting it. So it was just part of the economic development at the time. But now that ratio is flipped.
Yeah.
Completely.
So Gage, if I could just finally mention, having been through this situation a couple weeks ago, in hindsight, I would probably, instead of calling individual people to ask their opinion in terms of what I should do and trying to make a determination whether I should call the police or not, I think maybe a prime contact for the Horse Hill Subcommittee in this case, and maybe a prime contact with the Conservation Commission to make the determination whether maybe a blitz of email out to the committee should be at least making everybody aware of what has occurred. And if it shouldn't be the individual like myself making the determination whether this should be considered a legal matter
right,
and getting the police involved, we should have somebody that is designated, at least on each board, that could make that determination.
Yeah.
And once I would contact that person, I could, in this case, proceed accordingly. But if you want to use this as a case for future involvement, I'm sure this won't be the last.
No, it's exactly, we have quite a bit of property in town, and we have, in much smaller doses, we have the same trespass issues, but, this is obviously much more major, so. And certainly, and
Yeah, when you're
I'm
driving
not
a
taking shots at
3-ton
all at how
vehicle.
this went down originally, so
No.
your work and how you contacted,
If it's
absolutely,
that light.
Yeah,
way to
it's
go,
probably
thank you.
6.
So this is not a lessons learned at all, this is like, this is more of a, how do we do
Keep
this?
in mind that by charter, the town manager is responsible for town property.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, you think of that as being these buildings that we have and stuff like that, but it covers a lot of territory.
Exactly.
So that's one primary contact that you could use, is to call the town manager's office and say, hey, or call Tim, maybe she'll just, she has the ability to appoint a designee
Right.
for some things.
Yeah.
And so, since Tim already knows about it, and we have a fair amount of contact on that stuff, he may be the designee, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to do something with it. Again, understanding that he is, at times, short-staffed.
I think initially, though, I mean, obviously, hopefully, this is not something we're going to see a lot of. It's this level, but certainly, we have each subcommittee has a contact, has an ex officio member that you can contact, and that sits on this board. So, we can all contact each other very well. The subcommittees seem to be able to contact each other very well. So that would probably be, for escalation purposes, probably the quickest, because obviously you see something, you've got Cindy's email or phone number, she's got my email and phone number, and I've got everyone's, and so that's going forward. Yeah, it's probably an easier way to do it, but certainly how this went down went down just fine.
Okay.
You got hold of everyone, and
So you can discuss that at the next meeting
Yeah.
next week. Okay.
we can probably do that with all the subcommittees. Just let them
Yeah.
look, something, just so they know just so they're aware it's happening, and so this is
I mean,
if there's a problem.
You have what I will call, in comparison to this, pinpricks all the time.
Mm.
Okay? OHRVs and motorbikes and
Yep.
Yep.
trail bikes and stuff like that, all that kind of activity, which, quite frankly, are tougher to deal with because they're here and they're gone.
Mhm.
This time, you got a green skidder that probably weighs 6 tons, has a 10-foot wide footprint,
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. In the interim, though, you're gonna pursue this with the town to some degree, see what we can get going, and then
understanding that my official authority ends on Friday, April 14th.
Right, yeah.
well,
Yeah, so
Yes.
I would say someone from the town should reach back to Gage.
so
Or
until
Gage's
that point,
designated.
I'd
I will-
really
I will
appreciate
just-
you to be a
I would
thorn.
just tell them that they've already got the points of contact. There's Tim Thompson and there's the town manager.
Yeah.
Okay, because Detective McGuire's somebody else that they can get hold of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and between now and the 14th, feel free to be a real thorn.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. There's your final act.
Like I don't have that reputation.
Yeah, but here you can scram after. So.
And I guess I could just talk to Tim Thompson to start, look at a chain of command type of thing. How do we escalate these types of things in the future? How does he want to be notified?
Yeah.
And where do we go? Okay.
I mean, if you can definitively assess or could definitively assert a criminal activity, you can go right to the police department.
I don't think that's ever going to be a problem. To go, even if it's something small, you go to the police department, you tell them, and they say, you know what, this really, they'll tell you right off if they don't feel you need to be there. But going and reporting something to the police is never going to be a problem to do that.
No, and the thing of it is it builds a record.
Yeah.
Because they'll put it into their log, and as time goes on,
Yep.
If this starts to become an issue, it should be building in there, and they can go back and take a look at it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah, the unfortunate aspect of that is every time you do it, you're devoting 2 to 5 hours, no matter what, even for an ATV taking a quick run across the property. It's a sink. It's a time sink. So,
It's called a tar baby. Don't you remember the old Uncle Remus things on Walt Disney? Right? And the tar baby, you couldn't get away from it. Yeah. Every time you tried to push away, you got stuck someplace else. I actually got accused of being, what do you call it? Discriminating by using the term.
oh,
And excuse me, wait a minute. That's not what I mean.
yeah, right.
It's just a very thorny, sticky issue. You just can't get away from it.
Yeah,
Okay, so thanks.
that even more, underlines how we need to thank you for devoting,
Yeah.
going back and taking pictures, and we appreciate it. That
Sure.
signing up for the subcommittee usually means I'm going to go to a meeting once a quarter, but now you're over your 2-year quota already for this one thing.
I just kept on going. I figured, well, maybe the rig or monster truck came from Natticook Road, and maybe that's as far as I'm going to go. But once I got to Natticook Road, and then I looked across, and I saw the tracks continue on, I said, I can't stop now. I got to keep going. So I wasn't sure how much longer that hike that morning was going to last. I think I had breakfast at 2 in the afternoon. But it was worth it. Here's my phone number. Thanks.
You know where I live.
For now.
All right. Well, Don, thanks again.
Yeah,
You bet.
hopefully that's.
Appreciate all the work. All right. Third item. We've had a couple quick meetings, and here we go. All right, third item, the Washburn Conservation Area permitted uses. So in your packet, you have a copy of the deed of the Washburn Conservation Area. And the concept was that we're gonna look at this, and then we've got the other parcel next to it that we kind of quasi agreed to, that we should have the same permitted uses or non-permitted uses on both properties. They should be in sync. We do, because we do have, we've got a good example of that in Greater Woods with the school property and the Greater Woods property. We have people that are, doing one activity and they take a step and that activity is no longer allowed. And it is confusing. And you don't want to go out in the woods and have signs everywhere and make it look like downtown LA. So it's an interesting dilemma and something we should do.
Yeah, so on that, I brought my computer in case we needed to research anything, but I looked at the deed for the property as when it was turned over to us, and the deed is very simple. It just conveys the property to us. It wasn't conveyed with any specific conservation easements or other language that we've been using for the last few years now on our other properties. So it's a very quick, simple, here's the property, and refer to Exhibit A, and the Exhibit A basically says it starts here in the bounds, and it's all the perimeter stuff. It does say that there are a number of easements, like for PSNH, and Michael Clare had a roadway easement and other things, and you'd have to research to where they really are on the property. But those are utilities and stuff like that are on almost everyone's property. Your home probably has a utility easement across your front yard that allows the town to maintain certain things. And if you have underground utilities in your neighborhood, you've got underground utility easements that are going on. So in researching those and looking at them, they all look along that same vein. So, which means that since it's not deeded, there's no true deeded restrictions to speak of, but beyond those utility type easements, I think we're free to take, as the property owners, to take whatever action we want to take and not be controlled by a deed. These protective covenants for the Wasserman property are actually mentioned in the whole deed transfer process, and these were also put in place as part of the whole LSIP activity that went on when the town went to the LSIP program, LCIP, and got extra money from the state in order to make the purchase. When the town also, in its purchase, bonded this property way back in 90 or 91 or something like that. And that bond is long since paid for, and Horse Hill's about to be paid off too, right?
This year.
Yeah. So
That's why
No.
we got the highway garage on the.
yeah. Yes. So it's essentially, like Gage mentioned, I think it would be fitting to put these 20 plus acres right in line with the nearly 80 acres of Wasserman conservation area and have it all be the same. So, you ask yourself, well, what does that really mean? And that says, well, the idea is to keep it in its natural state, only sound forestry to protect and for wildlife and habitat management. You are allowed to have trails through the area. It says no snowmobiles or all-terrain vehicles. No hunting or trapping to be permitted. And then it gets into some of the things that we have in our current conservation things that says, no taking of soil, or, you can't have gravel pits and you can't use it to take resources of. No disturbing of things. Try to leave it in its somewhat natural state. And it could be used for a public water source if it was deemed necessary, if the town wanted to do that. So, but I think that's the long and the short of it, unless I missed something. So,
I had one question that I was reading it, and I think maybe I'm being a little too particular,
yeah,
but on page 3, item D, no soil, loam, peat, gravel, sand, rock, other minerals shall be placed, stored, dumped on the property. So, whereas before we're already making here on page 2, they're already making, look, we're allowed to make trails, we're allowed to do this. I'm assuming that excludes material for building trails.
I don't.
You don't.
No, I think what they're talking about there is you're storing stuff there.
Right.
Like-
But so
like
that excludes the materials that we need to build a trail.
I think it does.
Okay, all right.
I would interpret it that way.
Yeah, because
I-
that's
I mean,
temporary. Well,
Yeah,
permanent.
it's not anything, permanent or anything like that.
yeah. I think it's the last phrase, dumped or permitted to remain thereon.
Right.
That's important here.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's to keep the Buccaneers from, when they can't find a place to drop something, they'll drop it on your property.
Right. Yeah, and it's to keep the town from using it as a place to store gravel
Right.
or sand and things like that.
Or reclaimed asphalt.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought that last phrase, or permitted to remain thereon,
Yes.
is the key here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could read it as you can't, if you're gonna do something, you have a trail project, there's a beginning and there's an end.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need some kind of stuff.
We need
for it.
gravel, we need
Right,
soil, you need minerals.
That would bar almost every Boy Scout, every Eagle
Right, well,
Scout project to come down the road.
Well, but there are deeds that are,
I know.
don't touch it.
Yeah.
This deed actually promotes
Right.
scouts and camping, and there's actually a section that calls out this property is for
Yep.
camping, and
Yeah.
And somebody is allowed to, we'd have to figure out who, and it'd probably be Parks and Rec, can issue a fire permit.
I would advise them to leave that to the fire department.
Yes, but it makes,
Or just say
there's
no.
a caveat in here for, you can have issued a
Yeah.
fire permit.
Yeah.
Except that they have charcoal down there all the time, and you don't need a permit for it.
Well,
Whereas in like state parks or whatnot,
Well, it
sometimes.
says or in designated areas, so understand what we're looking at covers our 80 acres, but doesn't cover the park side. The
Right.
two parcels have separate
Yep.
restrictions and covenants, so.
Yep.
Yep. So, you'll notice that there aren't any time restrictions or time of day restrictions in these either,
Mhm.
so.
So are you expecting just to adopt this word for word?
Good question. So what I was thinking we would do is we would tailor it a bit and just say these activities are permitted and these aren't. But I didn't want to create that short list of bulleted items, or we can just adopt these. It's totally up to you all how you want to do it. I think if we adopt them, we can at a future meeting vote to unadopt something if we decide that doesn't make sense, right? Because
Yeah, I mean, because there are certain phrases in there's, I mean, there's, the park is designated and interpreted as Wasserman Park. I mean, there's certain parts of this that aren't really gonna be applicable.
so I'm happy to tailor this for a future meeting. Say, as long as everyone goes in with this eyes wide open, I can take the time to put the words into a separate document. And I mean, we could even go as far as putting it into the whole system and make it an official, a totally official act. So,
Make it part of Wasserman Park?
Oh. You could put it in the ordinance.
yeah,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Identify the parcel
Parcel ID.
and add it to what, 111?
111, which
Add it to
needs,
111.
needs other help, so,
Well, I'm not gonna be here.
yeah.
They already tried to dragoon me for that one.
Yeah, we're gonna call you anyways.
Yeah.
Presumptive buggers, you're gonna do this, Tom. No, I'm not.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it last time, so I wouldn't know what to do.
I'm gonna send you the rough draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I want your input.
What's your forwarding address?
Yeah. All right, so I wasn't expecting a vote tonight, but if everyone said, yeah, that's what we want to do, I can tailor this a little bit, if you'd like. Or would you like to take a vote now just to establish some rules and then we can modify it later?
Well, you could adopt some of the language that's in there well, I don't know, could you? Probably, yeah, I guess
You
you could.
could, yeah.
Well, are we calling it Wasserman Park?
On the map.
We are, because we did choose on the map to combine the properties.
Choose to call it Wasserman Park.
We did.
So I mean,
Well, how do they use some funny language in there to distinguish between the park piece and the non-park piece.
Actually, they don't really. It's all done by parcel ID. So, because you go to page 3, letter J, the property is hereby designated in perpetuity as Wasserman Park.
And, is there
We've
really something
been
wrong with that?
calling it
No?
no.
Wasserman Conservation Area because it's the conservation portion of Wasserman Park. So I would think the deeded name is Wasserman Park. So our parcel, I think for ease of speaking, we can call it Wasserman Conservation Area Extension, or we just call it Wasserman Conservation Area and include the 2 parcel IDs. Just understanding at the end of the day, we own 20 acres as a Conservation Commission, but we manage 100 acres because 80 of it is owned by the town, but we've been designated as the management authority for it.
That's what we did at Wildcat Falls.
Yeah.
It was 80 acres, and then we took on some other pieces of property, and now we had a 100+ acre parcel that people were calling 80 acres. So it's like, well, then let's call it something that's more appropriate. That's became Wildcat Falls.
Yeah.
So I think that would be just in line with exactly how we've done things in the past.
And that way we don't have to change the map either.
Yeah, it's done.
All right, I'll put some more words together and we can take this up at a future meeting then. Something we
So we're
know
going to call
about.
it what? The Washburn Conservation Area?
Yeah, I think
Sounds
so.
good.
And just include the type and the things that we'll take out of this are the ones that
Yeah.
reflect Washburn Park.
I think one of the things
Here's what they did.
one of the things that we may have to work on once this decision, is final and we do move forward with it. There are a lot of people hunting in the 27 or some odd acres there. There are 3 tree stands in there.
Mhm.
So we're probably going to have to sign
Post it, yeah.
and post it that hunting isn't allowed. And
Our neighbors are not going to be happy, are they?
right, and I don't want to be out there posting that alone.
I'll help.
They called one portion improved,
Yeah.
meaning the camp area, and the other portion they defined in another manner
Yeah.
as natural state or whatever it was,
Right.
something to that effect.
Yeah, that's going to be a sticky point. So.
Yep.
That, or we can do as we do on our other properties, and not post it and then address each situation as it comes up. Because we don't post Horse Hill with no hunting signs all over it, even though, well, actually, there is hunting
Yeah.
permitted. Sorry,
Some
sorry.
hunting
Yeah,
in there,
yeah,
so.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
It's supposed to no motorized vehicles.
yeah, yeah,
Real
well,
big one on
so-
that,
And that didn't
on
help.
the road too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And, well, Wildcat Falls is, there's no hunting, there's no discharging of a firearm, pellet, air-powered, or bow. But we enforce that on a case-by-case basis. So we don't,
That's a tough area to go hunting, though.
yeah,
Someone go, and you're walking into a neighborhood. It's a lot different to me than walking into Washington.
Yeah.
That's
well, there's,
Yep.
Mitchell Woods is the same
Yep.
way,
Yep.
That's an easier one to walk in on.
Yep.
So, but,
okay.
yeah, I guess we can deal with that later if we need to.
At least the 3 people that have tree stands in there should be.
Yep, notified, right?
Mhm.
Hopefully they're properly marked so we can inform the owner.
There.
Yep, so if they followed all the right rules, we can let them know. And we can let our local fish and game officer know.
Okay.
And oh, by the way, if people don't want to do this, so they don't want that restriction on those 20 acres, then, let us know.
And that was the whole purpose of having this posted.
Yeah,
Yeah. So people could come here tonight and give us their opinion.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, my intent was only to make the 2 properties consistent since they have a shared border and we manage them together anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So this is something you're going to try to
There are,
wordsmith it up?
distill it down, yeah. Yeah.
Are you thinking for an upcoming meeting as in the next one, or are we a couple meetings away?
I would say for a May meeting,
Okay.
all right? Not unless you think it's pressing.
No, I don't. We've done it this long. I don't think it's
Yeah.
another month or so. It's not going to make a
I
big
don't know whether I
difference.
mentioned this before, but the subject of paving Greens Pond Road has been broached by Public Works
Mhm.
because it's becoming too expensive to keep constantly grading the road.
Mhm.
I can't wait to see how much, you guys can wait to see how much it's gonna cost. If I'm not here,
Yeah.
if I was gonna be here, you gotta tell me about this because I gotta see how you're gonna deal with crossing below, the horseshoe pond.
Yeah.
And the drainage.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be a lot of site work that has to be done to do that. Yeah,
And that
channeling.
big rock,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what do you do?
Well, that's easy. You can drill it out or blow it out.
It's a landmark. So many,
For what?
so many bumpers laying next to it.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
So we're gonna go for the second meeting in May, 15th?
Sure.
That'd be-
Yeah, that'd be better since the first one's the first, right?
May Day?
Yeah.
By the way, that document is so old I can't even get an electronic copy of it. So,
The deed?
yeah,
Is it really?
yeah,
It's dated 89.
yeah.
Yeah, well, they didn't automate that stuff until the
Oh, yeah, but look at it,
late
it's
90s.
typed.
Oh yeah, it's typed. Oh yeah, well on a real typewriter.
Yeah, that's typed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Gonna have to get some OCR material or whatever that is, you know,
Oh, yeah, right.
to scan it and
Yeah,
change it
yeah.
into Word.
Do you have Evernote?
Evernote? I
Yeah.
don't. That'll do it.
It often can. Like
Okay.
If you take a picture of it,
Yeah.
it will OCR it, and so you'll be able to search on it
All right.
visually.
All right.
Have something, see if I can.
Yeah, I was.
Word and.
Yeah, I was gonna poke around a little bit. I wouldn't. Yeah. There's no way I was gonna retype the whole
Yeah,
thing.
no, right.
But once I've spent an hour though, I've almost could have just typed it anyways.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that would take
Looks
me
like a
lot more than an
Selectric.
yeah.
hour. That would take me a lot more than an hour. Takes a long time with 2 fingers.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, other business. Do we have the NRPC maps? We do have some, you had one item to bring up.
I sent the Greater Woods
Trail descriptions.
thin down trail descriptions. However, the first thing that Ryan said was trim it more. So I guess if we could get by consensus what we should be keeping and what we should be
Yeah, that's gonna be
Getting rid
that's gonna be difficult. Because as that property grows, the 8.5 by 11 paper is not. So the more trails you put on there,
Yeah, you're gonna run out of real
Yeah.
estate.
so you're gonna end up really running out of, that's gonna be a pretty small font.
mm.
And
I
we're gonna,
mean, if you look at Horse Hills, it's already
Yeah, it's already, yeah.
pretty.
and there's more to add. The subcommittee has more that they want to add, but we had just, we
One-
decided to wait for now, so we're gonna have that issue with multiple.
Yeah, can I weigh in for a
Please.
second? So, I wanted to ask this question for style reasons because I'm about to work with the Wildcat Falls Committee to do their trail descriptions, and I noticed there's a difference going on here. The Horse Hill descriptions from at least this version of the map. When you look at the trail, it doesn't tell you where it connects to, it doesn't tell you where it starts, where it ends. It just says trail conditions, or what it's suitable for. Where I've noticed with both Wasserman, which I printed out, and with Greater Woods, is there's a lot of information about where it starts, how it's accessible, does it intersect. I think if you rip all that stuff out and you just concentrate on the trail conditions or the intended use for the trail, you can let someone look at the map and say, oh, I know where to find it. It starts here. You know, I pick it up at Wildlife Opening 1 and I take it over to here.
Yep.
Okay, I can figure out the intersections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought that was the easy
It's
answer.
gonna have to be.
Yeah.
People kept wanting that. Where does it, you know,
Yeah.
that was the user input we were getting back.
Oh, the users wanted to know, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
But were they looking at it as, you know,
Here's the map.
here's the map over here and here's the descriptions?
Right.
When you marry the two together and you have them all kind of in the same thing,
Mhm.
well, I now see where the Spalding Foundation is, and I need to see that trail, the loop trail gets me there.
So do they want the information on the map, or they want the information
See,
when they're reading it on the website?
That's another thing that we have
Yeah.
one version on the
I mean,
website when you're
How
researching.
familiar are they in dealing with topos? The people that are giving you that feedback.
Most people aren't familiar with dealing with maps at all.
I know.
Well, it's the thing, so if you had the map on the website, the downloadable map, and they can look at it, they can see exactly what it looks like on screen. But they can also, we can have an expanded version on the page of the trail and what it is and where it goes and everything.
It's kind of like a
And it would
a
only
guide,
be,
a
yeah, it would only
online
be,
guide that
right, it would-
accompanies the map.
it would only be on the website. When you
Until
download the map, you get this.
Yeah.
If you really want to know, the flora and the fauna and where it goes, then you have to look on the website and get all that information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. 2 versions are probably the best way to go. Put a thinned down version that just explains
Yep.
Yeah.
this trail is, for an experienced
Here's the use.
hiker and very steep, and that's it.
Yeah. You can even have easy, moderate, difficult.
Well, how does the Appy Trail Guide do it?
How's the what?
The Appalachian Trail Guide do it?
Yeah, but they have a book or and the maps are just the maps with the
Right.
mileage in between points, and then they have a book that has the descriptions
And, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
or online.
There's no 8.5 by 11 page for them.
Oh, no, but I mean, they don't,
Maps.
it's been a long time, but
Yeah.
my recollection was, this is an easy trail, it's a difficult trail, it's for experienced hikers, or, this is good
Yeah,
this is a good place to learn how to hike.
it would be in the guide.
We're also kind of doing a thinning in the beginning as well by saying, blue trails are hiking sort of an A to B trail. Red trails are more twisty, and yellow trails are
And so we're already giving them a brief
Wide.
description of what every trail is, just in the simple fact that it's got a color marker.
yes. Yeah, so I think we could even thin down what we're doing as far as trail description.
Yeah, because once you put red, blue, you've already
Well-
labeled a whole series of,
Yeah.
characteristics to that trail.
As long as there's an easy place for them to look that characteristic up, which you can do on the website, that'll never exist on this piece of paper, though.
There are some trails I think people would want to know that they were designed for biking, Maybe.
So maybe we leave some level of There's
Yeah.
going to be a balance
Yeah.
where it fits on the page and gives enough description.
Yeah, I think the intent of these descriptions when we first did it with Horse Hill way back when is you could look at the map and you could say, oh, that's the Ledges Trail. Flip it over, Ledges Trail, only for experienced hikers,
Right.
da-da-da-da-da. And then you would know, yeah, okay, I'm here for a quick walk, I'm not going to take that one. What other trails do I have? Oh, Loop Trail, look at that. Oh, easy walk, wide open, takes you right to a beaver pond, great. And then I'm off on my way.
Yep.
125 feet from my back property line. That's already in our book.
Yeah.
Because too, remember, think about it, when you started hiking in town here, you didn't have a smartphone.
That's true.
So if you really want that much more information, I have it. Our website's on there.
Right.
We keep going. We get at some point in time, they're going to be able to pull that map up and get a little GPS location of where they are. And
Yeah.
I almost think that we take the beefed up version and put that as the stewardship plan version of the trail.
right.
And
Yep.
then have that little piece of the stewardship plan available
Yep.
as a hyperlink.
Yeah.
Just the trails
Actually,
there.
for Greater Woods, we actually have that. I have a link to just the trail section. I took it out of the PDF, made it a separate PDF, and it's there.
Yeah. But that, you would only find about half the trails on it now,
Correct.
because that was
Right.
5 years ago.
Now, one encouraging thing is there's more people out in Greater Woods, and there's fewer people wandering around BB Lane saying, "Where am I?"
Really?
That used to happen all the time. Where am I?
Yep. In the past week,
You're gonna go Kansas.
in the past week,
Well-
I've run into more people out there than, and they're all, a number of them wanted me to thank all of you for making that place available and better by the day. So,
You know, that was the inside joke in F Troop. The tribal name. What was the tribal name in F Troop? The Hakawis. As in, we're the Hakawi.
Yes.
All right,
So when you watch it on MeTV, whenever it comes on again,
So the direction then is to have two different variants then, one for the website, one for the, and for the map, and the map should be just conditions, or intended use.
right, it's gonna be as minimal, unfortunately, as minimal information as we can put on there, because you're gonna have to keep it sized enough that you can read it.
Okay, well, I'm glad I got Wildcat Falls.
3 trails.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You could write a big paragraph on yours, yeah.
I'm going to be busy enough building a new house and moving.
We can make it bigger, don't
So am
worry.
I.
All right, so that's, okay, that works. Sarah is, would we give her for a date?
Next meeting.
Next meeting. They're gonna be here. She's got the last of the maps. So, what she's gonna do, 'cause I mean, I think pretty much the last couple conversations we've had about the maps, we're pretty much down to the format, and line weights and all that are pretty good. So she's gonna do all the maps, so she can get 99% of it done, and then we can kind of put the text on there, the trail descriptions, you know, as it extends maybe out into May a little bit. But they want to finish up, so, and they're getting close.
The one other thing, and sorry I forgot this, this is probably even more important, is so on all of the properties, Horse Hill being the one that we have permitted uses and then restricted activities. Under restricted activities, one of the things that came up at the Greater Woods Subcommittee meeting was campfires.
Restricted.
So, yeah, restricted at Horse Hill, which we don't have in our restricted uses right now. So we should probably add campfires to that one. Greater Woods, campfires are restricted. But also at Greater Woods, there was a request for calling out the school property and then adding a school property restrictions area. So almost a permitted uses, restricted uses, and then additional school property restrictions.
I think that's probably a good idea,
Yeah.
because that's exactly the problem we have over there, is people don't know.
Right, there's no caution tape around their, border. But there are a lot of signage. They've done a job with the signage for at least the no motorized along the trail.
Gotta clip back some stuff too, so you can see it now.
Yeah,
It's
goes up pretty quick out there.
It's amazing how much that's grown. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, similar to what we did at Wasserman, we've got, property managed by others section kind of noted off.
Called out, yeah.
We could do something along those lines.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ryan's working now to do the Parks and Rec managed
Right.
property, that call out as well. So we're kind of going to have it in two.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we also have it on Wildcat Falls, because we have the state property
Yep.
parcel, and we have the town parcel. And we do call it out on that map, too. Yeah,
Okay.
so it won't be unique.
Okay, good. So I will go with that request and see what Ryan can do. Maybe when they come to the next meeting, they'll have some variants of what that looks like.
Can we get a set of draft maps for the next meeting?
Before the next meeting?
Yeah. Do you think they can just, I mean, just, it'd be great to have something say, yep, this is, we like kind of a final.
Yeah, I mean, I know he already has. He's been
Yep.
giving them to me so that I can see.
Yep.
So I'm sure he can prepare those.
It doesn't have to be the final, I mean, just, but something that we can, like, this is at least the map section. Obviously, the words, we're gonna still manipulate a little bit, but the maps itself, I would like to, you know, here's kind of the final rough draft type of thing.
So the meeting's on Monday. I'll ask him on Friday to send
Yep.
what he's got to the whole commission.
Okay, that'd be great.
Because I'm pretty much in contact with him and working with him as we both have time.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's harder than it seems.
It's because you take pride, and they do too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They're doing a really good job. They are super detailed. It's great.
All right. We got anything else on the maps?
No, I got a couple of minor edits for Wasserman in case you want to look at it later with me, because I haven't scribbled.
There's no update for the Greater Road bypass at the time. That's
You could
gonna
rewrite
be a
it
little
on here
weather,
if you wanted to.
weather predictive. We have to wait for the snow and mud season to go away before we have people up there doing much work. The website, I don't believe there's any update there. We have a,
No, so they're starting their, so this is now April, so they're
Yep.
starting their first quarterly maintenance. I gave them a list of things to work on. One of so changes you'll see to the webpage is they're going to add a subcommittee page for each of our major properties. That is Horse Hill, Wildcat Falls, and Greater Woods, because they have subcommittees. They're going to be skeleton pages, because what I'd like to do is use them as a starting point for the subcommittees themselves to look at and provide content, or see where they could add some detail that suits their needs of their subcommittee. So they're going to put them together. I also asked her to create a subcommittee page for Fields Farm and Wasserman Conservation Area that just says "coming soon," or, you know, I'd like, as a personal goal, I'd like us to try to put
Right.
together a subcommittee in 17 for Wasserman and 18 for Fields Farm. Don't know who's going to do that and all that stuff, but we're going to use those launch pages as if someone comes across it and sees it, they could say, hey, you know, I live next to Wasserman, I'd love to be part of that subcommittee, and they'll have a contact and they can reach out. So
okay. Thank you.
those are additions that you'll see. The other thing is she's going to work on the gallery, a separate page where you can sit there and see all our pictures, because now if you get them, you do have to pay the penalty of, when you watch the gallery for each of the properties, all those pages get downloaded on your phone or mobile device, so there is a data impact if we put too many pictures on one particular page. So what I thought was to create a gallery page that says, hey, this is going to be data intensive, but if you're at home on your website or whatever, you can go see all the pictures and have access to them all. So
Okay.
they're going to toy with that idea and see what they can do. So they are looking for more pictures. Remember, I sent out the links as to where to put pictures. Well, now's the time to do it, now in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay? So that's the update. That and the invoice, I think
Yes.
you already got.
Yep, I have
Yeah,
that.
okay.
So it's going back downstairs tonight.
Yeah, they apologize for getting it to us late, but it just means they get paid late.
Yeah, this doesn't really impact us at all.
It doesn't cause a cash flow problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't think we've had, have we had a subcommittee, the only subcommittee meeting we've had since the last meeting, I think, was Greater Woods.
Yeah.
that it, right? I don't think Horse Hill had one.
No.
Do you have anything from the meeting?
Yeah, the one thing that we had, and a lesser extent to what happened at Horse Hill, but we had a quad go into one of our no motorized trails. They ripped down the no motorized sign and did one of these, and then just rode right past it to get around one of the gates. So.
You had no representation from Right Riders?
No, they haven't been to the meeting in a long time.
So is this quad incident a single incident, or is it being used repetitively now?
Yeah, I think I haven't been back, but I put the sign back.
Thank you.
Once I found it, but yeah, I think the people that are used to going where they used to go now have an obstacle, and they're still gonna go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that was the D3, the bypass trail that never materialized.
Yeah, well, this wasn't even
Yeah.
there, but they went there as well after they got around this.
Well, they were in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did also put, not that we owe an explanation, but I put the mud season signs on the gates
Okay.
because it is mud season.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody would get off the machine, read it, and go, okay.
And then are those who are seeking the mud.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, and we don't have regular patrols of that area for enforcement, so.
Even when we were paying for it.
Your Q gauge.
Yeah. So,
Moving right along.
moving right along.
I do have a couple of other minor things under other business if you were going to go to
No,
minutes.
yeah, please go ahead.
So Amy emailed us about someone who was looking to do some plantings or something like that.
Yes.
Any update on that?
No, I haven't been able to get in touch with her.
Okay.
The only thing was a contact number. I haven't emailed her.
All right.
Maybe tomorrow I will make a point to call and email.
Okay.
If I don't get
Just
an answer.
curious, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so.
Yeah, any suggestions?
Well, at one point I tried to put some plantings around the Wildcat Falls sign on the entrance going in, but someone who regularly mows that decided that the plantings needed to be mowed, and they got trimmed right off.
Oh, jeez.
So, but I didn't put rocks or obstacles that the mower would get tangled up in. So, but if we decide we want to do something,
Wow, that grew up quick.
that's it. That was an
Those
expense.
weeds are flowers.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that and I put a couple of our spruce trees that we got for
Yeah.
that were left over up too. They got mowed right under.
Oh.
They were this big when they were done, and then they turned brown, and that was the end of them. Because so, yeah,
All mine got, all the ones that I planted got eaten by deer.
yeah. I've got the deer chewing on mine right now.
Mm.
Yeah. I got, for some reason this spring I've got a lot more deer in my yard than I've had seen in the past. And we're talking mature deer. I've seen a lot of babies. This is their, well, I guess would be their second winter because they're born in winter.
I know why.
Yeah, they're not getting hunted.
Well, no, they probably used to live where there were trees
Yeah,
behind a certain gun club.
That's true. Yes, I didn't think of that. Yes, the gun club is just down the street from me. So yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That and we.
What do they start grazing on?
Yeah,
the knolls
yeah,
to subdivision shrubbery.
yeah. So we also got a reminder from the public that we weren't doing a good job handling our draft minutes for our subcommittees, and I appreciate all the subcommittees, stepping up and trying to take care of that, because RSA 91-A applies to our subcommittees as well as us, and we have 5 business days to get that done. So, again, I appreciate people. Newt was responsive, Karen was responsive. I know you're responsive. So just keeps us transparent. So that's all I got.
I was just gonna say, is this volunteer, is it gonna be like a long-term assignment they're looking for? Maybe. Well, if they are, the flower patch at Horse Hill that Lynn maintains, she would love to have some help on that, especially with the watering. If we have another drought, because you have to bring the water in. So just as an FYI.
Yeah, and doesn't she live by Greater Woods?
No.
No, she lives by Horse Hill, but because of the drought,
I'm thinking of
it's a
somebody
lot
else,
of
I think.
buckets. Oh, you mean, does this
I know
person?
who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But she did the flowers at Horse Hill.
Yeah, no, I could talk to her, but I think they're looking to do like an Earth Day.
Oh, okay.
The whole company goes out, does
I
a
see.
something,
Yep.
but they're right on. That company is right on Continental,
Yep.
so I'll make a better effort
Mhm.
than just phone calls this week.
And Horse Hill has a meeting a week from tonight at 7 o'clock in the Matthew Thornton room.
Yeah, Wildcat Falls is until the end of the month. It'll be after our next meeting.
Are you putting that in the calendar?
You mean, it's already been there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So are you going to be our calendar representative?
Sure.
Okay. So if anyone has dates they want to give them to Cindy, she can populate the calendar for us.
Yeah.
There is one thing that needs to go on there then, is the Jeff Littleton.
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
April 29th.
Okay. Is that already on there?
No, it's not. I've been trying to get hold of Jeff. We've been playing phone tag. I wanted to try to get the time and everything so we could make a flyer, but it's I want to at least get it up there so people have it up. It's going to be the morning. I can't really remember what time we met last year. I think it was probably 9 o'clock or so, 9, 10 o'clock. And it's a couple hours long, so if you put a marker in there for 9 o'clock, we can always push it back a little bit. But that's April 29th is the vernal pool party. So that, and also we have coming up is May 13th. That's the Saturday before Mother's Day. We're going to have the seedling giveaway at the Courier Orchards. So those are two important dates for us to keeping a beat on.
So do you think, I remember I sent you that email about possible pickup? of those
Yes.
seeds?
Yeah, I did. Well, I responded to because with the dates.
Right.
Well,
but, you know,
we
but,
don't
you
really have a date yet.
Right.
We're when their nursery's gonna call us and say, hey, okay, come get them. So yeah, I'd love,
know, okay.
but that would be very helpful if someone wants to do that. That'd be great.
Yeah, and if it would depend on when the pickup could be.
Right. So, and we've had some. Amy is also volunteered. She said, look, if the date works, she'd go do it. And we've also had some couriers who've said that they could go up and take care of it too if we needed to. So we seem to have somebody available, but we just don't know the date. Anyone else got any other business? All right, moving on. We have the minutes of March 20th. We don't have Gina here, so we're going to be relying on Cindy. Did everyone get a chance to review them? Enough? Do we want to go over them tonight, or do you want to table them?
I'm okay with you moving forward if
If
someone's on a review.
Okay. All right. That's a motion.
I'll make a motion to move the March 20th minutes with amendments.
Second?
Second by Mike. All right, all those in favor?
Well,
No, not yet, right?
Isn't
Oh,
done.
that's right.
We gotta make
Not
them.
Do the
Gotcha.
amendments?
Yeah, you got it.
Let's go. All right, you wanna go first, Cindy?
Yep, I mean, I read through them, I only found one thing. On page 4, row 20, line 20. Just to take out the comma, I think, between permitted and uses.
Oh,
I have one thing, or it's one question, or that's page 2, line 53. So does the commission have a Facebook page?
No.
no,
Right. So,
I think that's supposed to be the
Merrimack
web,
Outdoors
Yeah,
Facebook
the
page instead
Merrimack-
of the commission's.
well, I think, no,
Calling it by its
I
proper name.
think that's probably us saying that we would welcome them for our webpage,
let's put our website.
website.
That's what I think it's supposed to be, too, for our website.
You know, the photos of
commission's-
the Inland Side Commission, we, you know,
So
we're
Facebook page should change to website, commission's
the commission's website.
Yeah.
Good catch, Mike. I didn't have any at all.
Call the question?
Matt, do you have any corrections? Nothing? All right, so all those in favor?
Well, Tim said he had a question.
No, call the question. That means take a vote. Let's
Take a
go.
vote.
Oh, I thought you said, I have a question. So I'm
No,
like,
so
he
all
just
those in
ignored
favor?
you.
Accept the minutes as presented and amended? Aye.
Oh.
And, go ahead.
Disregard, or whatever.
Well, are you gonna abstain?
abstaining.
Because
Yeah,
you're here?
abstaining, thank
Okay.
you.
So they passed 501 with Cindy abstaining? Okay. And, so, we have no members of the public present, so public comment can close. Do we have any commissioner comments?
Just one quick comment.
Cindy, okay, Tim?
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't have.
When you see the Horse Hill Subcommittee,
Mhm.
please pass along our thanks for them supporting Don and Tim for the work that they did. Right? You know, if you could pass that in front of the whole subcommittee,
Oh,
so
definitely.
that way they know we appreciate them. Okay.
Yeah, and Don coming here tonight.
Yep.
Yeah,
Taking
absolutely.
his time
Yeah.
and stuff.
So that and Tom, we'll miss you.
I miss
Oh.
you guys.
So this is your last meeting?
No?
Not a lot of people tell you that, right?
What?
Not a lot of people tell you that?
What?
They're gonna miss you?
Oh.
Oh, no. We know your phone number.
Yeah. You could always call in for our meetings.
I
We could put you on speakerphone.
Yeah, it's, you're gonna miss this place, I would think. You've been
Yeah.
here so long.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
You know, it's a, you know,
Yeah.
geez, I can get out of that arc that I live in and get into something a little bit more manageable, you know? So, but, you know, 2 people, 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Oh, yeah, right.
Thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate
Yes.
it. And thank you for your service because, you know, you guys don't, you know, you're all volunteers too. So, you know, and it's been enjoyable.
Good.
To be here. It's been, you know, you know, I often joke about if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. Okay, and the fun part is the satisfaction you get out of the accomplishments that you get together collectively and put this together. And the town's moved over the last 7 or 8 years in a very positive direction. And, you know, you guys have been a big part of that. Your subcommittees have been a big part of that. I mean, I'm just boggled by the amount of work those people put into that and the things that they've done in those areas. You know, to make these properties, you know, really something that the community can be proud of, and they are, you know. So, you know, it's really great. But, you know, it's time to move on. Better to move on under your own power than have somebody drive you out. That was the thing of being a town manager. You wanted to be looking like you were leading the parade.
Not just out for a walk, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. We do
Sure.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
Oops.
No comment.
No comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 6-0-0.
Abstain.
And it's,